Welcome to another episode of Life is About More Than Living. No matter what today throws at you, this week is thrown at you, remember, no matter what happens, you win. No matter what happens, I win. The show is supported by my book, Split Souls of Transition. You can click the link, find it in a variety of online stores. It's paperbacks on Amazon, you name it. Also, you can get his audiobook on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Rider Play, wherever you find audiobooks. Split Souls in Transition, um, part of the way I support this programming. Now, today's guest, we're going to take a deep dive. The episode's entitled Coping, Thriving, and Leading in Various Workplace Cultures. Conversation with Tenia Davis. I'm going to bring her on, let her give her bio, say what she want to say, because I know all of us at time to time struggle in our workplace environment. And so let's bring her on. Welcome to the show. Life is about more than living. A title that I try to get away from, but can't because so many of us get lost in the day-to-day grind in our professions, careers, retirement, whatever. And I truly believe we need what you, Tania, is going to bring to us today. Um, I try to start out most of the shows with a quote, and this is one of my favorite ones by Alexander the Great. He is credited with saying, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. By a sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion.
Hmm. Wow,
Uh, and
that's real.
based on what this lady has written in her book, which the link's there in the bio, purchase a copy of it right here. Did not finish it, be all honesty, but I need some of this. I've been told I need some of this, especially by my other half. So this is a lesson for me, for you, the listeners, because especially in this climate we're in now, people are challenged
Yeah.
from the so-called blue collar workers to the corporate level. We're challenged.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna let her talk, give her bio. She knows herself better than I do. She can speak. And just let's take away from this some wisdom, y'all. Um, so perhaps we can be that. We can be that either the lion or the sheep that's following the lion. Tania.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm an HR practitioner, researcher, and I've spent my time in many industries. I've worked in healthcare, entertainment, publishing, tech, consulting, and I'm most proud of being a mom, being a wife, and a steward in my community. And I love the topic that we're going to just dive into because I think that the world is just trying to figure this whole thing out and where they fit in this space. And I think what we're finding is that we're not only resilient, but we're also able to kind of maybe redefine and rebrand ourselves. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, let's dive into it. It's your time. I'm just as much a guest as a host.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. I've seen quite a few love Instagram, and I also love TikTok. And there's so many conversations swirling around what's going on in the workplace, right? And the height of emotions that are swirling and actions that are taking place, and who is benefiting and who is losing, right? And I think people are for some, the whole path of what empathy is lost, right? And so people that are being impacted by it are now trying to navigate something new, right? And I'm no different from that. I stepped away from corporate and I decided to do something different. And I'm opening a bookstore cafe I'm really excited about. And it's something that I've always wanted to do. And I took this opportunity to pursue one of my dreams. And when I talk to my peers, I think that's what people are trying to navigate, what does this mean? Or if I've been at this company for over 20 years and now the company has let me go for whatever reason, then what am I supposed to do now? Right. And so I see every opportunity, and I've always thought this way: everything happens for a reason. And if we take the moment and say, okay, it might not feel good, it might not even be right, it might not even be fair, right? We can't question those things, but what do we do with it? Right. And I literally stepped back and said, I know for sure that my dream list is long. And
Mm-hmm.
what is it that I can do, still be purpose driven, be impactful, and have all the love that I have for my craft? What does that look
Mm-hmm.
like? And so in 3 weeks, I'm opening my bookstore.
Okay.
And it's called Beyond the Book, a
Okay.
literary experience, and it will be in Homewood, Illinois. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I sit around the table and talk to my friends, we're all thinking the same. What does this moment really mean? Will it define
Mm-hmm.
us, or will we find some definition in it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Or it could be what we define it, because what's today's date? In less than 6 weeks, I will be attending my first National Book Festival in Houston,
oh,
Texas.
yay, good.
National Black Authors, supposedly the longest running Black Authors Festival in the
I'm aware
country.
of it. Yes, it is. Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I will be there. And that's like, there's only like 6 poets. That's why I registered, because the
Mhm.
majority of my book is poetry.
Yeah.
But of that 6, I'm the only African American male so far.
Hmm.
But it doesn't matter, because I will be there for the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
Like you just said, that first time thing,
Yeah.
level of exposure, that stepping away,
It
that
gives you
thing
time.
where,
It really gives you time.
yeah,
What
because I started away from working for someone else back in February this year.
yeah.
And it's scary, and it's been, man, I'm gonna leave that alone. This is your time. I'm
No,
trying to take some
no,
I'm trying to take some nuggets away from you, because I'm almost I'm not quite a year out from not punching a regular clock,
yeah. I
and
was
that's
just having a
scary.
conversation with someone the other day, and they're trying to adjust to their change. And I said, what someone, whatever is meant to harm you, to hurt you, whatever that
Hmm.
might be, you kind of have to say, okay, that's them. That's not you.
Hmm.
People in
Hmm.
pain cause pain, right? Or sometimes, you know, everybody life is happening for people different reasons. But I
Hmm.
will say this, and I say this all the time. Be very careful for the very people that you don't have empathy for, someone will not have empathy for you. So
Hmm.
very
Say it
careful,
again. Say that again.
very
For the
careful,
very people.
be very careful because not having empathy for someone else, someone's not going to have empathy for you. And
Mm.
so, I've often been criticized because I do have a lot of empathy for
Mhm.
folks. And, some people are very selective of who they think empathy should be for. And I don't see it that way,
I'm
you know.
guilty of that.
And so I don't see it that way. I
Hmm.
think life happens and life is happening to people. And sometimes you have to give people grace. And I will never apologize for that. And so um, I tend to believe that, in the workplace, if you're there and you can deliver and you can thrive, you're going to do that anyway.
Hmm.
But if you have to do that on the backs of someone else, then, is that the place you really want to be? It's not where I want to
Hmm.
be. Um,
Okay.
so, I think that the world is looking for healing, and I want to show up for that, right? And so, if a moment in time can bring out the underbelly of behavior, I have to believe that with good intention, it brings about something positive, and that will have to percolate in some direction. I have to believe that. And
Hmm.
so my intention with my bookstore of inspiration and everything positive is I'm hoping that I can bring together communities of
Hmm.
folks, right? Have wonderful discussions, right?
Hmm.
No one is harmed, but verbally exchange ideas and build on that. I will also have a podcast studio. And so I'm hoping that I create voice for the younger generation so that they could come in and express themselves in a positive way and spread that out to the universe. So I'm really looking forward to how I can bring about change in a positive way and add to something that is more constructive than than some of the things that we're seeing.
Okay.
It takes a moment to hurt someone and cut someone, but it really is the strength of a person that can heal, uplift, and inspire. That's the true strength. And
Hmm.
not everyone can do that, right? You would
Yeah.
think you would think so. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I said. I knew, and I tell you off camera, this is gonna really hit me home because I'm a lot of those things because in certain environments.
mhm,
The personality things. Yeah, I get up here, I do what I do, have amazing people such as yourself on the show, but it's also a check and balance for me, because those are things I need to continue to be aware of about my personality, my traits, my background, because that one word will last a lot longer sometimes than a fist thrown.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And it doesn't have to be, I think we're in such a contentious space now. It
yes, definitely.
doesn't have to be me or you. I think our
Mm-hmm.
vocabulary needs challenging. It doesn't have to be me or you or me or someone else. It could be both. We could coexist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it have to be one at the expense of the other?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so even our level of competing, um, on an international stage, I think we're going backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
we're competing internally, but what does that really mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what do we truly gain, right? As a country, as a unit, and as a
Mm-hmm.
collective, what do you really gain? And so
Yeah,
when there's an
some
end
of
game,
us,
when you
yeah.
compete, you want to have a winner, right? But who
Mm-hmm.
is really the loser? And so if you can't really describe who that loser is, and that loser is in your camp or in your
Mm-hmm.
community, then you're not really competing. You're creating havoc. There's a big difference.
Yeah,
It's a big
big
difference.
major difference. And in with regards to what I do, I often say I'm in the transportation industry because some things I don't want to make fully public.
Mhm,
I engage with a lot. I've had the opportunity to meet some really nice people lately,
mhm.
some really not so nice people lately.
Okay.
And and it's and the way I personally handle it is that when like this morning I had to make a phone call. This was the morning I had to call home. Dorothy and the Wheel was Lies is really, but go home. I had who it was? I said ET phone home. I had to phone home for real this morning. But I can't remember which movie it was. But I had to call home this morning because I was in a space where I thought the individual should have used another type of service.
Mm,
But even he said you were the person I needed.
mm. Okay.
I'm like, and my mother, whose photo I need to blow up, hang up behind me, the real superhero, not my Batman and Deadpool posters.
Mhm,
She embodied so much of what you're talking about as a caregiver. I
mhm,
didn't really fully appreciate that till I was like 18, 19 years old.
mhm,
She never worked in corporate. She barely worked at all most times, but she was always empathetic. She
mhm,
was always there, regardless of whether she was hurting or not. She lived up what you said.
mhm,
Um, and I bring her in this conversation because along with the call, I had to tap into that energy and ask myself, am I living out her legacy?
mm,
When I do the hurtful, I do the things you mentioned earlier that we need to guard ourselves against, try to
mm,
learn how to do better. Because her legacy, if I'm living her legacy out, I'm walking in a lot of what you're talking about.
mhm,
And I've it took me 19 years of local government service to finally find the best supervisor I had. I
mhm,
mention her not by name often
mhm,
because when I started the job, she had her flaws, but she had a listening ear for everybody uh,
mhm,
that she that she supervised. She made time for me as a new employee when I went undergoing some healthcare issues, for the most part, to make sure I had adequate time and pay. Somebody said, "Well, that's her job." No, it wasn't her job. I wasn't there 6 months, and I had a major illness. But,
Mm,
sh but I had already been told by my trainer that when he was having a heart attack in the truck, and then when he admitted, she came hard to him, but stop, go. He was having a heart attack.
mm,
She was that type of person that I think you're describing.
yeah.
In the midst, instead of creating more chaos in the workplace, she was able to help cope, thrive, and build people up.
Mm,
Um, I don't know if she follows me or not on this podcast, but if she does, hey, Benita, I appreciate you that 13 months I worked under you. Because she lived out a lot of what you're talking about.
yeah.
And then be in local government for 19 point some years to find one at the end.
Hmm.
One
Yeah.
to meet something what you're talking about at the end.
Yeah.
Come
I've
on.
worked, I have to tell you, I've worked with some in my past history. I have worked with some amazing folks,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what has made them amazing is just their capacity to be genuine, their
Mm-hmm.
capacity to be good stewards in the workplace. And
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to say and describe, but a lot of people are in pain,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
and the level of contention,
Mm-hmm.
right, it has just magnified. And so um,
Each and every day, sadly. Each and
today,
every day. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually feel, I feel, I, I, I feel for the folks that are in unhealthy environments. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
During my career, I'm 58, and so 58
Mm-hmm.
young, and
Yeah.
I have had a
Congratulations. I'm almost 63 young.
there you go, right? But I've had a
Yeah.
legacy of working with alongside some amazing folks. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember years ago, just watching how when you're in the circle of other leaders that genuinely are who they are and
Mm-hmm.
have care, not just for the people, the work that you do, the output is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, working side by side, really helping people thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in environments where it was cutthroat. It was like Game of Thrones almost. It was like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
who's stabbing me in the back today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I laugh at it because I just laugh at it, right? And so I know it's not an environment that I want to be in. And what I would say to your listeners is that, especially in this moment in time, know your tribe. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Despite what the statistics says, we do have. I'm concerned that we won't have the right labor pool for the future jobs, but
Mm-hmm.
think about what you want to do. And when you get up in the morning, are you excited doing what you do? And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and working alongside with the people, that you do. I worked with
Mm-hmm.
one person, and literally, she would have anxiety every morning just going to work, working with her.
Wow.
And I said, why are you doing this? Why? And you don't, it depends on what a person's tolerance is as well. I just would advise someone to do what you're passionate about and do it with people that are passionate as you. And
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of value of having diverse perspectives and diverse backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of learning that could take place. If everybody looks like me and acts like me, I don't think there's any value in that. And um, I think there's this whole air of competition now that's taking place that is very interesting to watch the interplay of, because it's no longer about intellect or talent. It's about likability. And
Likability.
there's always an air of likability, and that's
Mm-hmm.
always been there. But now it's even, you're talking about the workplace today, you know, I will work with and be forgiving of shortcomings based on likability. And,
Likability.
and
I had an opportunity to
interesting strategy.
encounter. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's a interesting strategy to scale a business.
Yeah. I had an opportunity. to encounter a former coworker. Um, and when I worked with him for that short period of time, he, he was an individual he talked a lot about what he wanted to do. He listened to other ideas, but he always came back around the same circle. Well, I can't because, or they don't like, or it won't happen this way. With this recent encounter, this particular municipality has done a lot of restructuring since I've been gone,
Mhm.
moving different apartments around everything. And he was not the same person in this conversation.
Oh.
The change had a light in him that I didn't see before. He has gotten promoted,
Mhm.
making a lot more money,
Mhm.
loving what he does versus this one doing this to me and they don't like me and I need to go over here and I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be here. He's like, man, I'm I'm in a good place now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this the same guy?
Yeah.
It's, it's the
Yeah.
same guy, but something transpired, I think, in line with what you were saying.
Mhm.
His personal journey over the year, these last couple of years, he found his thing that he doesn't mind getting up every morning to go and do
Mhm.
at the place of employment.
Yeah.
They had a light in him in that conversation versus the darkness I had working with him for like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another thing about this podcast. If I can tell a real life story with it of someone I've known, I'll throw it out there. Because usually people, my guests like you, and I hate to say it like that, those guests are truly engaged and passionate about what they do.
Mhm.
They run with all sorts of stories. You're
Yeah.
running with so much. We could probably do this for like 2 hours, but we're not. I've gone like an hour and a half before. We're not gonna do that today. Because I want to get down to some of my more recent encounters and see how you might feed or give some advice out to them. Some of these individuals have subscribed to the YouTube channel, so I know they're going to catch it in replay at some future, or they might be catching it now.
Mhm.
Uh, College kids, I've encountered some freshmen, I've encountered some juniors, more of a combination of the two. I, I'm a self-educated person. Everything I've done on my own. Still continue to learn. Um, but when it comes to these individuals, what I found a common thread is the I am studying, get this, and I start talking to them about, is that really what you love to do? Well, mm, uh, they pause and they hesitate. Well, and so my question is simply this: for these younger individuals who are on this journey, uh, and some of them are working jobs in line with what they do, want to do. What one particular piece of advice might you share with these college students to help them navigate from the to being a little bit more focused because they have invested their time or they're now beginning to invest their time on their journey.
Yeah. So, you know what? Here's what I would say. College is not for everyone. And I
Okay.
think sometimes we make the mistake by forcing our kids to go into a four-year institution they might not
Mm-hmm.
afford. So maybe a
Mm-hmm.
junior college might be, or maybe a trade school.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that age, it's the best time to explore. What
Okay.
you can't say what you really like until you explore different things. You might know what you might like drawing, but what does that
Mm-hmm.
mean? Is that architectural design, or is that a
Mm-hmm.
cartoon artist, or
Mm-hmm.
what is that? And I think often, we force our kids to kind of go into one place, and I'm just as guilty, without really letting them examine, explore, and find really what they gravitate towards,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I do believe we should encourage them to try something and not do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So doing nothing is not the answer. But exploring a couple of things is the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then look at, so once you figure out, hey, I want to be an engineer, well, what does that really mean? And what schools offer what opportunities to pursue it? I think now is a great time, and I talk to and mentor a lot of young folks, explore outside the US as well.
Mm-hmm.
International travel is so much easier for our kids today than it has ever been. Be in study abroad for a semester. It just expands your reach and understanding. Though we're in a global market. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't understand global market at this age, then you're already working behind. Understanding the
Okay.
nuances of different cultures is very important. The reason why I say that
Mm-hmm.
is because in the workplace, you have this collisions of different backgrounds, different perspectives, and different languages.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know how to connect in and build relationships and collaborate, then you're working backwards, right? So I think it's more than just the 4-year institution itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's what is offered and packaged in that institution. So
Mm-hmm.
study abroad, what internships, it's really
Mm-hmm.
internships are probably the most important aspect of your journey as a college student than anything. 'Cause that's your open door and insight into operations that you're interested in when you want to grow up. And it's also visibility from organizations into who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Organizations are focusing more so on the pipelining than ever before because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's afraid of a labor shortage, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we continue to find good talent, and so you
Mm-hmm.
have to know how to market yourself. You have to know how to brand yourself, and it starts in college. What is your email address? If
Mm-hmm.
it's Hot Daddy Yahoo, okay, you don't email going out on your resume. All right.
I hate
So
to laugh, but that's so true.
you
That
want to
is so true.
a smart email, right? Because people are forming opinions. And this
Yeah.
social, I tell all the young people, social media, no matter what companies say, they don't look at it, they do.
They
So,
do.
if you are having a hot time somewhere and that's on social media, it will be reviewed. And so people form impressions not knowing you. So once
Mm-hmm.
you enter the stage of whatever institution, you have to look at what is it that I want people to know about me in a positive way that's going to give me some longevity into what I want to do. That's a big question. That's a loaded question. And it takes different actions and steps to define that. And so that's your social media, it's your email handle. It's, what jobs are you taking that line up to that, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
if it is, no matter where it is, you can work in, fast food. It's customer service, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's timeliness, you're learning discipline. And so each job offers some sort of learning if you want to learn.
Yeah, what you just said brought back a memory. Um, Several years ago, my eldest son, he was looking for people to work in his company. Um, Shout out to Tenia Studios, Atlanta, Georgia,
Mhm.
audiobook producer, all that award winning. And his website says award winning audiobook producer.
Right.
Um, and so he dropped the word to me that if I know anybody interested in interning or want to work in the background, he would give them the software they needed. He would do some audiobook editing, pay them
Mhm.
fairly well for it. And I reached out to an individual, but nothing about him catered to that professional area. Because first he came up with, well,
Hmm.
basically, how much I'm gonna get paid, how am I do this. He came up, but then his email, some of the things you mentioned, and he didn't require you to have a college degree. What he required is that you had experience working on a studio,
Mhm.
that you could sit there with some software and do
Yep.
what he needed done on audiobook production remotely. And this particular individual, he lost out on an opportunity because I couldn't even refer him after he gave me some of what you just said. Because if not only because he's my son, but I know I knew back then what he was looking for. And that
Yeah.
was back then in the days before his company got the accolades. He got the accolades he has now in
Mhm.
the building phase. Um, but he was still willing to employ people and pay them well.
Mhm.
Um, so that what you said, college students, self-learned,
Mhm.
everything she said is 100% correct. Uh, I'm gonna take that back over here as an example for this stream. I, when I started doing this live and using StreamYard, I created a totally separate email.
Mhm.
I have been using my other email for all my activities.
Mhm.
Someone gave me the advice along the line of what you just said. I like using myself as an example whenever possible.
Mhm.
People like your email needs to represent a certain thing because people are gonna look at it, but
Right.
they can sometimes judge you based off of it.
Yep.
So I took a phonetic spelling of my name, which is in most cases everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Maraharl.
Mhm.
So when people receive my email, they say, "Oh, Mr. Harrell." I'm like, and they told me that would get me instant respect versus some other stuff,
Right.
and it's worked fairly well. Now I've transitioned to where I'm at now, bringing guests on the show like this. Life is
Mhm.
about more than living is busting country after country and audio and more so than video format currently, but
Mhm.
subscribers are growing. Make sure I shout out myself because self promote. So I
Good.
now use Poetry Breeze 154 at gmail.com because my book came out, which I always make sure I share with people that can see it, even though it's our show.
That's good.
Um, Thank you. My eldest son produced the book. He launched a publishing house and did my book, separate
Nice.
from his regular business. And they did all the chess marketing, everything, covered design, everything. But I'm saying this in line with that. When I started that process with the professional, yeah, my son's still a professional. Um, I needed an email that would reflect more who my company and brand is and what has
Mhm.
breathed life into me.
Mhm.
No matter what happens in this world, poetry, comic books breathe life into me. Uh, I made sure I talked about the Batman story and throughout my podcast episodes, various episodes. Bringing that in here, that's in line with what you're saying, is that identity and how we present is everything that you said and then some. So now when I send it out, you've got emails from me, everyone's been on the show got email from me. This is what Poetry Breeze means. Poetry breathes life into the podcast.
Yeah.
Poetry breathes life into me when I get up in the morning.
Mhm.
Somebody asked me, well, who's your favorite poet? I'm like, I just read some anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
poetry was my saving my grace when I was in what they used to call middle school. And we didn't have counselors and mental health professionals and, and everybody else back then. And I was able to, as I said in my book, in an English class, and I wrote my first poem. I'm like, I didn't know it became healing. So I
Yeah.
breathed life.
Yeah.
Um, so going back to the email part, I can't say what she said better than she said it. But make sure everything that you do represents you on a different level.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
if for some reason I thought Poetry Breeze 154 was not working, I will take it down. But people associate me with being speaking because I love poetry.
Mhm.
That being said, I'm not really trying to take over any of my guest conversation. I am long-winded. Because I want these young college kids to really understand, as I've said to so many lately, do not be 45 years old before you start discovering who you are. That's
Yeah.
the age I was at. I was
y-
45 before I
And
took that
you,
leap.
and you can't be afraid, and you
No.
can't worry about what other people think of you. And I can give a flying flip. I don't care what people think about anything. You have to feel confident within yourself. And if there's anything that I would tell these kids today is that they have more to offer than they know, and they cannot
Yeah.
rely on social media to define them. They cannot rely on the person down the street to define them. They cannot rely on the person in the office to define them. Because the very people that they're relying on to define them are often not the most secure people themselves, right?
No, they're not.
So, you're right. And to, challenge yourself to go out and learn a new language. I challenge myself all the time. I still do. There's a pottery class I want to take. I signed up for a pottery class. I've never taken a pottery class in my life, but it was something that I said I wanted to learn how to do. And so when you start challenging yourself, it also energizes and sparks innovation because you're learning something new. You're rewiring your brain to some degree.
Now, how does that translate into the workplace culture for
Oh,
you?
every day it does. We should always, you own your career. I tell people this all the time.
Okay.
And there's nothing more that drives me crazy when someone is sitting in the chair saying, well, you didn't tell me to do A. You didn't tell me to do B. You didn't. So now I have to tell you to learn. No, you take control over your career. If you want to learn, if you want to be a programmer, what else can you do? Invest in yourself to become a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
What does the company offer? Sign up for everything. Most companies, they have all kind of training and development opportunities. Most companies do. And if they
Yeah.
don't, then look outside the company where you can get that type of learning. But if you don't invest in yourself and if you don't take the initiative, then you'll sit in your chair and wait. Or if you don't do it, someone's going to basically define what you should do. And that might not be what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times people will shape and mold, they'll shape and mold you for what they need. I need someone to do clerk work. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm going to make you a clerk. Well, is that really what you want to do? And if not, then what are you doing to get towards something that you want to do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do find that part interesting. I've seen it where, employees in the workplace take initiatives, and I love that. It's like not afraid to try it, not afraid. You can't be afraid to fail. You're going to make mistakes every day. I make mistakes all the time. And I just say, okay, what can I learn from this moment and move on? And so the important thing about mistakes is to learn whatever the lesson is, learn from that lesson, but it also helps you to build who you're supposed to be and where you're supposed to go. So you're going to make mistakes. That's all part of the process, right? But understanding in that process, don't let it derail you, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a circle in a workplace where people are derailing you and undermining you, I've seen that, and I've seen it, and it's very hurtful, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, at some point you have to decide, okay, this is not the place for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wish everybody the best of luck. Have a wonderful life, but it is just not for me. And so you got to know what you want.
Yeah, that's part of the reason we're able to do this podcast at like 3 something in the afternoon because I reached that breaking point.
Mhm,
I reached that breaking point. I my last job I had, it was one of the easiest jobs I ever had in my adult life.
mhm.
But it started not to play out that way.
Yeah.
I ended up having to work one night a week and 4 days a week. It
Mhm,
wasn't what I signed up for. Then that's the only time I got some backlash from my good supervisor and a lead person. But didn't you say you prefer night shift? Yeah, I did. I never worked night shift in that capacity, and I tried it out.
mhm,
But now you saying you don't like day shift, so which is it? Make your mind up. I'm like, I came in here under the guise of working night shift.
mhm,
No one told me I went have a split schedule,
mhm,
and that's not working for me because number one, the joy is out of it. Number two, my health started being affected by it. So I had to decide when to walk away. And thankfully, we made the decision for me to walk away. So
mhm,
as I really so if I'm gonna go back to Ty, and I usually don't talk about my kids too much. I'm talking about my oldest today.
mhm,
But I'm drawing off their examples because they have lived out quite a bit of what you are advising for college kids. And I never asked my guests to bring in their stories, but some do, but my case, and my youngest son catches this. Oh well, be 30. Well, ain't nothing bad I'm saying. I'm just giving us what happened. It was in the first. It's the color schools, magnet schools in Guilford County, North Carolina, for music.
Hmm.
So someone gave him a friend of the family at the time, different life, gave him a trumpet.
Hmm.
We were able to get him in that school the first year it was open. It wasn't one of the best neighborhoods,
Hmm.
but had some of the best teachers. And I know this because I was a volunteer at the school. I got a CDL license. I could drive activity bus for the kids. And by the time he finished up at middle school, he was not only playing the trumpet, he was playing the drums.
Hmm.
By the time he left high school, he was playing 4 instruments.
Wow.
And now he's teaching elementary kids music
That's cool.
with my grandbabies in his school. Because all three of them in the same school together. They're
That's,
all officially in the same school this year. Kindergarten, second grade, and daddy all the same place.
that's good.
I go back on that to say that what you're saying is possible, my younger people, as you explore and you go. He he took so many different paths as an adult, but he ended up back where he started with
Hmm.
that passion. I never foresaw him being a music teacher. Never ever in my life
Yeah.
foresaw that.
You
Second
gotta,
year teaching,
you gotta trust the
but yeah,
journey.
but it goes back to what you were saying about the college kids. You got to explore, you got to see, you got to test things out, and be willing to accept where it leads you back to, or what it leads you back to. And in the workplace, being willing to walk away
Yeah.
or find a way to walk away. As Don't be like Steve Harvey, one of my favorite. I tell you, I idolize people, but I love my Steve Harvey story. I've done his bios, and I've had him re-quoted to me in this house. How he moves. Don't just step out there without something. But
Right. Right.
if you have to take that leap
Hmm.
for your own sanity, take that leap. I've met some amazing college kids this past couple of weeks, North Carolina A&T, UNCG, here in Greensboro, uh, and I'm just in awe with the ones I've encountered because they are walking out a lot of what you're saying.
And have a plan B, and they're able to do it. And we're not
Yeah,
taught to have a plan B, and we have to teach
yeah,
our kids. We have everyone. It's not just for one particular group. We have to teach our kids to have a plan B. And when
yeah,
they have a plan B, it's easy to walk away from the A. And so
yeah. That
if, if the A is not working, I don't believe, like in my mother's generation, they would sit in a job for 30, 40, 50 years because they felt
Yeah, I
they had,
met an individual like that, been there 32 years at the same job,
yeah. And
and
so,
she's no clerk.
our kids aren't thinking like that. And I applaud them for that.
Yeah,
They're thinking, well, okay, if that doesn't work, then I'm gonna go, my grind is over here. I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that. And I applaud that because
yeah.
what they're doing is diversifying their skill set and
Hmm.
creating even more opportunities. And so I think the richness in this is if something is not working, right, what will work, right? What other things can you do
Yeah,
that is just as great, that pays the bills and that is gratifying and all that? And it might be you hold on to that job that you're not crazy about while you work on a plan B. And
hmm.
so it is important to have a plan B because it just gives you options. So when you do
Well,
way, you can breathe and say, you know what? I'm good. I'm now going over to do what I really want to do. But you have to plan for that. I do want to make sure I stress. I would never tell someone just quit your job.
right.
Have The most important thing is to have a plan. That is,
Mhm.
like, if there's anything I can stress is, and you should have a plan when you like your job. You should always have a plan, whether you like your job or not. You should always have a plan and invest in yourself. That's the number one thing I would tell folks is that you should always make yourself a priority and invest in yourself. Every year I write down, what do I want to learn? How do I want to grow? What workshop do I want to attend? And it might be one or two, or it might be one, but that's part of my personal development that I
Mhm.
take ownership in. That's not for anyone else to manage. That's for me to manage. And
Right.
so I write that down. That's part of my personal goals. And
I
when you,
think so many people don't. A lot of people don't. A lot of people, regardless, don't do that. Um, and that's for the other audience I've not spoken to heavily. about, we not challenge you to speak heavily on, is that of those individuals who have been in, who go to work every day. I think Les Brown said it, who do just enough to not get fired. Those people, because that's I, I I'm not knocking individuals like that. I work with them. I've been of that mindset myself, but they don't have a plan, another plan.
Yeah.
Not, I won't say a plan B or plan C. They don't have their only plan to get up, and it's by choice.
Hmm.
But on the other side of that choice is the grumbling and griping about where they're at, which means they don't have a plan.
Well, and I will, can I, if I could just add to that,
Yeah.
and that's where I've seen individuals be the most dangerous because
Mm.
they will make everyone else the problem. And
Mm.
so people that can deliver and do the work, deliver and do the work.
Mm.
Very seldom will you see them blame someone else for
Mm.
their shortcomings. And I hate to say it that way, but it's almost like, and you will hear companies say, you know, there's a danger to keeping people that are so complacent. You do want some people that are complacent, but there
Mm.
is also a danger to that. And I've seen that in the workplace because you then become a threat to them because they are complacent.
Mm.
So you can't perform, you know, it's just like somebody comes in and they're a high performer and, you know, they're trying to, you know, challenge themselves and do the work and that's what excites them. But for that person that is complacent, they will, you know, I've seen where they saw those individuals as a threat because
Mm.
that then means, oh, well, I now should have to do that or my job could be in jeopardy. That's where some of the negative behavior comes into play, you
Mm.
know. So, and I only mention that because as organizations look at reward systems, you know,
Yeah.
organizations should be
I'm glad you brought it up because
careful how they reward behavior
in
of
in
rewarding.
local government, uh, and I'll tell the story. I worked for High Point, Greensboro, and the city of Durham here in North Carolina. Okay. It was toward my latter. Once I started doing more than investment in self, I get reinvestment again, get back on track with that, knowing where this year will be going in a certain context. It's really happened when I got employed by the city of Durham because I went in there with a different mindset, more in
Yeah.
line with what you were saying. I
Mhm.
promised myself I'm not gonna get caught up in the personality you just described. I'm not gonna allow myself to get caught up. I'm gonna make a personal choice not to get caught up. If it means being by myself, headphones on in the downtime, I'm gonna push back against it when I
Mhm.
can by speaking against it.
Mhm.
Because I came to realize it didn't matter which municipality I worked at. There was a common thread in every one of them.
Yeah.
And one in particular, which I'm not going to name of the three, the frontline supervisors fed that.
Mm.
They pushed it out there.
Yeah.
There will be one, two different, and if I not name the number of supervisors, that people who follow me know exactly what it is, where it's at. But there will be different supervisors in the meetings with the different crews, browbeating the other supervisors with
Mm.
their employees. And
Yeah.
then when things got heavy on the job site, nobody wanted to cross over and work with these people because
Mhm.
they had been conditioned by leadership that
Mhm.
they were not worthy because they
Yeah.
were lazy, they were skating by, they were this, they were that. And so I was determined not to bring that negative energy over to my last place of employment, City of Durham. So when I had to work as a part of a team, I had to guard myself against it. I'm bringing that I into this because it's easy to get caught up in it if
Yeah.
you're not careful. On a work, I call the worker bee level. On the executive corporate level, I'm pretty sure it's the same because
Mhm.
I've walked in when members of management or browbeating other members of management. And
Oh, it happens. It definitely
I'm
happens.
like, I'm like, so this is why none of us get along because
Yeah.
you're creating a division.
Yeah.
You,
And some leaders manage by division. And so, you know, it, and that's why it's so important to know what do you want from an organization? right? Do you want a 9 to 5? Do you, and sometimes it just might be a placeholder, and I say that a lot to folks too. Sometimes a job is a placeholder. It's a placeholder while you get your education. It's a placeholder while you maybe one up or work on your plan B. It just might be a placeholder, right?
Mhm.
Or it could be the place where you want to grow your career, but you have to know what is it that you want to gain through that work experience. And if you don't have an answer for that, then that's something to consider. What is it that you
Well,
want?
I think I'm sorry. I'm kind of old school.
Mm-hmm.
I keep multiple post-it notes everywhere from my wallet to here to there. So that's how I self-check myself.
Okay.
I'll make a note on it. I was doing it on my phone, but everybody, I'm saying, find your way to self-check yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you can't do what she's suggesting, which is answer the question not only like Salmon Semic once said, I think, I can't remember, God, I can't remember man's name off the top of my head. Anyway, he once said, understand your why, then
Mm-hmm.
self-check yourself on your journey, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll say it again. Everybody's different. I know my point was age 45, 44, 45. So if someone said there's a lot, someone told me there's not much life left in front of you. And I challenge that. I challenge that for you. I challenge that for anyone. Uh, how much life is left in front of you is determined by how you perceive it. Uh, my limited research has shown that employers now want the wisdom of older people, and they also want the skill sets of younger people and the energy that may be, but because they know what you can bring as far as experience goes. Uh, I know today, if I wanted to, I could go out and find a different job. Uh, Currently, I'm trying to hold off that because I like the freedom of working for myself. And what this transform into that, uh, that's another reason I'm glad you're speaking because you're speaking to me as well. You're not only just speaking to my younger people, my former coworkers who's tuning in later. We have a major responsibility first to self. I'm hearing you correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So am I hearing you correctly? Self first, self-care in the workplace, self-care in your personal life, self-care in your mentality, self-care in your perspective. Am I hearing you correctly?
That is correct. You have to be accountable to yourself. I mean, of course, there's accountability to the work itself, but even
Mm-hmm.
to that place of excellence, or and first of all, I totally believe show up and give your best and do your best. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is the utmost important, right,
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it. However, I think sometimes people get caught in the trap of, well, I didn't do this enough, or I didn't do that enough, or they're trying to please the boss and trying to please, and you can't work that way. You're trying to please sometimes people that have nothing to do with the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, am I doing a good job? Am I delivering what is expected? And do I have the right career path in front of me? And can I achieve it? So I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the wrong questions are being that we ask ourselves the wrong questions, right? It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be about the platitudes and all that other stuff, because that's short-lived and people
Mm-hmm.
are watching, we all know. And so you really should focus on, how am I doing a good job? Am I getting feedback to do that job, right? Do I have a career path in front of me that I can achieve? And what do I need to learn to move to the next level? And do I have the right mentors around me, right? Because
Mm.
that's another part we didn't talk about, but
As we wrap this up, let's take that dive into mentorship. And we'll wrap this up.
and it's not just mentorship. Do I have the right tribe around me, right?
That
So
too, as well.
that that's
Mentorship
different,
and tribe. Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
Go
Let's
ahead.
dive. So let's dive into that, and we'll wrap this up. Those two briefly,
Okay.
mentorship and tribe, and we can wrap this whole thing up.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you. Just
Oh,
dive into it a little bit more, a little
okay.
bit more on both, and we can wrap it up. Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. So I do think, at least based on my work experience so far, where I have seen the most positive, healthy success, right? Because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
wellness as well, is when you've had the right mentorship and you've had the right
Mm-hmm.
folks around you that can guide you. There's always unwritten rules that are in the workplace, and do you know
Mm-hmm.
how to navigate those unwritten rules? That's very
Mm-hmm.
important. to know and to have a mentorship. And it's good to have a mentor in the company and outside the company.
What do you mean outside?
Because it's good to it's good to have different perspectives. And sometimes
Okay.
you might need guidance on something that you don't want to discuss in the company. And there,
Okay.
and
Okay.
there's a
Okay.
danger
Okay. Okay.
insulated to there's a danger to that, because sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
might just get the guidance of that one person, but they really might not be a mentor. And that's another thing. Everybody is not a mentor. And
Okay.
so,
Okay.
you have to know, what is it that I need to learn? And is this the right person that I can get that body of knowledge from?
Okay.
Right.
And as to the tribe.
And as for the tribe, that's very important. Birds of a feather flock together. So are you
Mm-hmm.
flocking with people that gossip all the time? Are you flop, I've seen it, you get, well, I've seen one bad apple crumble a team.
Mm.
I've seen that.
Mm.
And so, you have to know what agendas are in front of you if you're going to play in that sandbox. Otherwise, you'll be grouped with them. So or is that the complainer group? You've seen them, this is the group that works hard. Oh, I want to be part of that group. This is the group that, are considered, the best folks to have on your teams. Okay, well, why is that? Well, they work hard, they're focused, they're committed, all the positive things there. And then we've seen it too, where you have the group, well, all they do is complain, or all they do is keep up drama. Well, you don't want to be part of that group, right? And so, you got to know your tribe, and be able to work with everyone. And so that's a balancing act. You want to work with everyone, right? And you want to have a good rapport with everyone, but it doesn't have to mean that you're embedded in every camp. And so
Okay.
keep in mind, people are always watching. In the workplace,
Mm.
people are always watching. They're watching to
Mm.
see what you do, how you say it, who you say it to. They're always watching. And then they're determining if they want you on their team, right? And
Mm.
so, what are you doing, right, for someone to want you on their team, right?
Mm.
And so, what are you doing to show that you want to be part of a team,
Mm.
right? And so sometimes some things fit and sometimes they don't. And then that's the part that we're having discernment of, maybe this is not the right place for me. And I think
Mm.
sometimes, well, and I love the younger generation, because they will determine quickly, I'm out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but you have to determine, is this the right place? And if it is, make it work. If it's not, then have a plan B. And if you're
Mm.
there, make sure you have a sound understanding of what is expected of you, right? What is your career path? You should have job descriptions in front of you so you know exactly what the organization is expecting you to
Mm.
achieve, right? And then
Okay.
ask for feedback. And that's probably the hardest, I will say. And that's why I wrote my second book. That's where people really struggle, not just leaders. I think in general, people struggle with feedback and having candid conversations. And so platitudes is not feedback. And niceties, nice is not feedback. Actually, it
Mm.
creates a lot of dysfunction. And so, and insincerity. And then people see you as not genuine. So
Mm.
feedback should be timely, it should be consistent, it should be focused on the issue and not the person and not personality, but the work itself, right?
Mm.
And it should be consistent. And so, in order to really grow and learn, especially entering into the workplace, you want to know what people are thinking around your work.
Mm.
What can I do better, right? What did I do well? I always say there's two questions: what did I do well, and where are there opportunities for me to learn and grow? And don't debate
Mm.
that, be open to it. But if you show up as having all the answers and as the smartest person in the room, then you really won't get that learning, right? And so
Yeah.
I've seen that too, where people show up and they think they're smarter than everyone, and you're like, but you can't deliver. So
Yeah.
I don't know where you're adding value, right? And so you want to make sure you have a sound, and you create a space for people to feel comfortable in doing that too, right? Because if you're asking for feedback and then you're defensive, not saying you personally, but if someone is defensive,
No, I get it. I get it.
yeah,
I get it. I get what you're saying, and that's where I'm going to kind of throw this in there, and I know it's going to wrap it up. I'm not gonna be the old church, school church preacher and say we're ending and then we don't end for another 30 minutes. Uh, um, the one thing I shared during my time, that was out because I learned over the years this particular thing is that if the people that came to work there, especially young ones, people in their 20s or 30s, I'm like, this is the perfect place to develop multiple skill sets
Mhm.
that you can take in the private industry
Yeah.
if you choose that you don't like it here. Number one, and especially with the city of Durham. Durham really impressed me. So anyone may catch this from Durham. My little 13 months there, I was more impressed there than anywhere else
Mhm.
because in the public works department, it wasn't about who you know or like ability. It was about everything you described, and the door was wide open for us opportunity goes. Some would say that the people up top, that the ones that have been there for years, were grumbling and griping. But I went in seeing it from the perspective of those who came on board 2 or 3 years prior to me.
Mhm.
And I saw what those in position of authority were allowing, which was you could come in there with a regular driver license. They will literally pay for you to go to truck driving school,
Mhm.
not train you in-house as I was accustomed to, send you away, put you in a hotel, all expenses paid, get your commercial driver license. And then from there, the possibilities were endless to move in different departments, from equipment operator to this to that. Would you ever go into management? That will come back to whether you want to tap into the educational resources or not. But you could work throughout the general city in that capacity because they made sure that you had opportunity. Before I left, they were sending 6 individuals away to truck driving school.
That's good.
That costs a lot of money to get Class A CDL license. Some of them came in as litter picker uppers. That's all that literally they came in picking up paper, but they did that so well when they offered them opportunity,
Mhm.
they put them in truck driving school.
Good.
Everything you were saying is, I will brag on it because I saw the good there. People say, well, the pay is not great, but the opportunity to have something, especially as you say, our plan B, it could be to a point, like, I don't want to work here anymore.
Yeah.
I get the benefits, but I'd rather make more. I want to make more money, so I'm going to private industry.
Right.
But you have a license and job training that you can take over there.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm saying that I threw that out there and say I appreciate you coming on, Tenia. Uh, we could talk so much more. You got such a wealth of knowledge here to help so many people. Your website links are tied in here. Your book link is tied in there. At least the book that I have purchased is tied in there. Um, and I'll say this, I'm not going to do it off camera like I sometimes do. I'm getting away from saying certain things off camera. Reach out to this woman. Reach out to Tenia.
Feel free to. Yeah.
Here are her links on our website. Get some of that one-on-one that she may be making available to you. Um, this is real talk. This is the time we're living in where it doesn't. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. The younger people I encounter, I say, you have everything you need to be successful. Are you using it a stupidness of social media, or are you using it to start a business?
Yeah. Yeah. That's real
Are
talk.
you
That's real talk.
so?
Yeah.
Because and mind you, I've been at this since the days of Google blocking, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
But a commitment, consistency, and staying in it when you do what she said, though, find out what you love to do.
Yeah.
I knew an individual in another municipality. He came in as a volunteer. When
Mm.
I left, he was the safety director for the city.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
We cannot afford to be complacent.
No.
So
Wrap it up with that. Wrap it up with this here right here. Go ahead. I'm set up.
if we
Complacency. Talk about it.
we cannot afford to be complacent. And so if you don't have a plan B, I encourage you and I challenge you to start working on your plan B. Even if it's just taking one class, even if it's just watching something on YouTube. To your point, we have access to too much information not to try to add more skills to our tool belt. There's no reason why you can learn it. You can learn
Amen.
language on YouTube, right?
Amen.
So whatever that is, start working on your plan B, which gives you options, but also And I always say this because I do think it's important. It's not always about the money. Yes, we want to make money. Yes, we want to pay our bills, of course, but also entertain the thought of what is purpose driven? How am I giving back? How am I helping my community? That is so important. And then also, how am I showing up better? Right? So
Mm,
somebody else can be better. Right?
mm.
That's the sign of a true leader. Right? When you
Wow.
can show up not just because you're doing your jam, right? But you can help someone else, right? So it's easy to criticize someone. It's easy to feel entitled to something, but to actually do the work and deliver, that's different.
Amen. Amen. I'm gonna take us off camera so we can close this thing out. We can I will say a few little words off camera, and this is gonna be I guess all I can say is whoo, woo, woo. I get a loss for words because this allows me to meet some amazing people. Um,
Thank you
Another
for
episode. I didn't realize until I got the statistics say this will be like episode number 238 over, but it's been over 7 years.
congrats.
However, as I come up on September 18th, 7 year anniversary, walking
Congrats.
away from my job has allowed me to bring people like Tenia on the show.
Thank you.
So from February to now, I can't trade it. I can't. It's been amazing. I'm gonna get excited about about this whole thing because so many people have been impacted.
Mm,
So many people have been touched. So many more can be touched. Uh, if you don't want to tune into the whole episode on YouTube and replay, my dear listeners, followers, subscribers, the reels will be available. It's gonna be interesting to see what AI pulls out for the reels from this show. Uh, I, mm, I ain't anything else to say. Um, this is it. Another episode of Life is About More Than Living. Thursday's guest will be Shane Lucas, from poet to activist, LGBT community here in Greensboro. I haven't seen Shane in probably 4 or 5 years. Uh, he's gonna bring he's gonna bring the smoke about how to deal with things and cope, not only professionally but also as a volunteer. 'Cause like she in line with what she said, your community. Uh, thank you, Tania.
thank
I went off
you.
camera for a second. Thank you. Don't go nowhere.